And then I watched it the next day. And by the fourth day, I was like, oh my God, just like, I couldn't do it anymore because the exact same script, it's like they just repurposed it for 4 straight episodes. And I was like, what are we doing?
And then they drag it on with no conclusion for months on end. Yeah.
I know. It was literally, I love you, but we can't be together. But we want to be together. But we can't. No, we can't be together. But we should be together. But we can't be together. I was like, oh my God, just stop. Stop. I can't. Something else has to happen.
It's the Heather and Ryan Show.
Yeah! This is the Heather and Ryan Show.
Is it now?
All we're trying to do, it is. It is.
Oh.
And you know what?
What?
All we're trying to do is put you in a better mood by the end of the episode than you're in right now. Your line.
Until we play.
No.
Again.
Welcome to our bubble.
Welcome to our bubble. Bitches.
That was the worst intro we've ever done. Let's just move on. Quick announcement before we get going. We're going to take a 1-month break after this episode, so there will not be a second episode in December. There will not be a first episode in January, but we'll be back 4th Saturday in January. Additionally, lots of trucks and snowplows are going to be driving by. Be prepared for the background noise.
A lot of airplanes over here.
Yeah, my pets. Doesn't even matter. Not even going to try this time. Not even going to try. It's not worth it.
My frog's going to be downstairs riveting. Rivet.
You have a frog?
Croaking. Yeah. We ended up with the frog somehow. So now we have a frog.
From what, a school experiment or something?
No,
Was he saved from a science lab?
No.
The torture of a science lab?
No.
Okay.
One of Chloe's friends found it and had it as a pet and then didn't want it anymore. So Chloe decided that she wanted it. So then we got a frog.
How big?
It's a little guy. Let's see. Maybe like 2 quarters big.
Oh, like the size of 2 quarters.
Yes, the size of two American quarters, 25 cents.
I was like, dumbass, that's not a measurement. Pieces. I forgot we were in America. We're doing American measurements. We don't measure things with inches or centimeters.
We don't measure things with tape measures. We measure things in comparison to other things.
You know, it's about the size of a 2-door Toyota.
Is it bigger than a bread box?
Okay. We are going to play, in the Christmas spirit, Merry Dissmas. It is by What Do You Meme and is available for purchase on Amazon.com. I could not find it on the What Do You Meme website for some reason. They are not a sponsor. We are, as always, playing a modified for audio version of the game. Here's how it works. We read the question on the card and answer it. That's the whole thing.
Okay.
In the Christmas spirit, we're not even going to keep score. There are no losers here today. Except for Ryan. You're a huge loser. Other than that, no losers.
Rude.
All right, you ready? That is basically, the game is
You know, I remember the time you used powdered sugar instead of granulated sugar to make cookies.
We've already talked about this on the podcast before. I'm fairly certain.
I had to throw in a diss there.
Okay.
In the spirit of Merry Dissmas.
Yeah. Interesting. The game is kind of misnamed because there's no real dissing going on. I don't know. Let's see. You'll see how you feel about it as we go on. Let's just do the first card. Ryan.
Yes.
What was the worst gift someone in the family ever received for Christmas or at any other time? Name the giver, the receiver, and the shameful gift. You've said Aladdin 3 times before I was done talking. Please explain.
I hate musicals. I have always hated musicals.
Oh, yes.
And for some reason, Mom and Dad thought I would love the movie Aladdin. And they got it for me either for my birthday or for Christmas. And I think you watch that movie far more frequently than I did.
Love that movie. Fantastic movie.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. I think we talked about this already on an episode. I should keep track of what we talk about.
You know what I hate, Heather? How some musicals have very catchy songs. Because don't get me wrong, I've seen Aladdin, but every now and again I'll bust out in a "It's a Whole New World."
I like the Genie song better. You ain't never had a friend like me. I like that one. That's my
a good
fave.
one. Yeah.
What was I going to say? I think we talked about it, but just for the record, I feel like Fantasia was worse. But I do have...
You know what?
Yeah.
But was that a family gift or was that a gift? I don't remember who got that as a gift.
Gift Dad got us. Okay, here's how I remember this going down. Dad was like, we were at a mall and we kind of had separated off into our separate ways and we were meeting up again. He's like, I got something for you kids. And I was like, oh, so excited. Oh, I can't wait. What is this going to be? And he pulls out Fantasia on VHS. And do you remember how some VHS tapes had those like fancy plastic covers and you'd like pop them open? It was in one of those fancy plastic covers, like all decorative. And my heart just sank. I was like, ugh, Fantasia. It's the most boring movie that's ever been made. I can't stand Fantasia.
I'm pretty sure we still have either Aladdin and or Fantasia in the garage. Buried.
Get out that
in
Aladdin.
The attic.
I don't know why y'all kept the VHS tapes, but I don't really blame you at this point. I kind of wish I had a VHS tape collection and a VCR and didn't have to pay for all this streaming.
So we actually set up the VCR on our big screen TV.
Really?
Yes, and it's awful. It's not obviously not designed for a modern TV, but it was not. There was nothing pleasurable about the viewing experience. I rewatched the movie Silent Rage because I remember watching that as a kid. I think Mom and Dad actually got me this movie for either Christmas or my birthday.
Were they trying to tell you something?
It's a rated R
keep it to
movie.
Yourself, Ryan. Silent Rage.
So violent and bloody and gory, and it's about a guy that the bad guy that can't die. He's on a murder rampage, and Chuck Norris, the protagonist, is chasing him. And the movie terrified the living hell out of me. Like, I watched it once and never again. And then when I helped Mom and Dad move one of these times, they just gave me a box of all the VHS tapes that they had. And in there was Silent Rage, and I was like, I gotta watch that movie again. Like, that's gotta be a really good movie. You know, so I get it all set up and plugged in. It was the most terrible movie I have ever seen in my life. It was probably a mar on Chuck Norris's resume. Like, it's an awful, awful movie. There's nothing scary about it. It was not nearly as gory as I remember it being. It was just a terrible movie. Absolutely
I don't remember
terrible.
that movie at all. Sometimes you watch a movie that you really liked when you were younger, and you're like, oh, my taste has changed.
So it's
watching
funny.
This.
So the Never-Ending Story, okay? You remember?
Great movie. I remember it being awesome.
It is a good movie. Don't get me wrong, but
okay. You
know how everybody thinks about the horse that died? What was it, like Artak or Anthrax or it was Atreyu
Atreyu's horse.
Yeah. Atreyu's horse, right? Regardless of the horse's name, the horse dies, and I remember being really broken up over that. Like, it was sad. I legitimately pretty sure I cried at that scene as a child, right? And so I happened to notice that it was free on Netflix or something at some point, and I was like, kids, you gotta watch this movie. This is a great movie. So I put it on, and it gets to the scene where the horse dies, and I felt absolutely nothing. I felt nothing for that horse. And you know why? It's because in my mind, I remembered that there was like all this character buildup and you got attached to this horse and the horse died, when in reality, it's like literally one of the first scenes in the movie. Like, I didn't have any time to get attached to either Atreyu or his horse, and then the horse dies. And I was like, oh, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Like, I don't give a fuck about that horse.
Did your girls cry?
No.
It would have been great if you cried and they just looked at you like, what is going on? All right, Ryan, I do have kind of an answer for this worst gift story. At the risk of insulting you, it's not the worst gift I've ever gotten, but this question reminded me of this. So just bear with me, okay? I'm not trying to offend anybody.
If you did
here.
not like any of my Beatles gifts, Heath, my rage is going to go through the roof.
I understand. Was not a Beatles gift.
Okay, great.
I could never dislike a Beatles gift. Come on. Ryan, so, okay, first of all, let's back up a little. You know how sometimes you can send a package in a box that's not the actual box? You just find a random box. I can put in this. For example, one time, Mom sent me a care package, and I was like, oh, she sent me tampons. Kind of heavy tampon box. Opened it. Homemade cookies. Great.
Nice.
Not sure why they needed to go in a tampon box, and a lot of people made fun of me.
It was a convenient storing location for those cookies. Mom has been very resourceful when it comes to storage.
They were delicious, and that made up for it. But anyway, so you guys sent me this package, you and Rebecca, for Christmas one year. And it had a few things in it that I liked. And then I was like, I wonder what's in this lava lamp box. So I opened it, and I was like...
Was it a lava lamp?
It was a lava lamp. I was like, oh, it's a lava lamp.
You didn't like the lava lamp?
I was like not impressed by the lava lamp. So I'm at lunch the next day, and I'm sitting with like a bunch of my coworkers. And I was like, oh, my brother got me a lava lamp. And every person at that table simultaneously descended upon me like, if you don't want it, I'll have it. Do you not like the lava lamp? I could take that lava lamp from you. And one of my roommates who was sitting there was like, no, we're keeping the lava lamp. The lava lamp's staying in our room. Right? And I was like, yeah, it's my lava lamp. Suddenly, I love the lava lamp.
So it ended up not being the worst gift you ever got,
It ended up not being the worst gift I ever got.
You got peer pressured into loving our gift.
I would love a lava lamp now, and in fact, I should get one. Because it's a much dimmer light than the glaring light of the lamp I have now for when I wake up in the morning.
I don't understand how you're classifying this as the worst gift you ever got, then.
I'm not. I'm just saying the question reminded me of the story.
Gotcha.
Of the lava lamp and
gotcha. Because your answer is Fantasia.
Right, yes. But the lava lamp was like, at the time when I first got it, I was like, this is a terrible gift. And then how everybody wanted it, and I was like, this is the best gift ever. No, you can't have my lava lamp. It's my lava lamp.
I don't recall ever sending you that. Rebecca handles the gift giving.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so... And she likes to send like knickknacks and paddywhacks, Heather. Like that's kind of her thing, you know?
Well, she sent a lava lamp that was a hit where I
amongst
was
your
living
roommates
at the time. Amongst
and all
my
your
roommates and coworkers. There was like 8 people at that table. Literally. I'll take that. I was like, oh my God, what is happening? Okay, Ryan, next card. What dish/meal was served way too often when you were growing up?
Jambalaya.
I've got an answer.
Jambalaya.
You think jambalaya was served too much? I thought jambalaya was okay.
Look, as a kid, I hated jambalaya. I think I've actually had jambalaya as an adult, and I appreciate it. I like jambalaya. But as a kid, I couldn't get past the smell. There was something about the smell that just smelled terrible to me. And it's the only meal that I can recall that I absolutely despise. And I was upset every time it was served because it was the worst meal they could ever possibly make. I
feel you on that because here's mine. There were definitely meals like I didn't care for, but there was it's just chicken. It's chicken for me.
Mm-hmm.
We were served so much chicken that there was a point in time in my life where I went to eat a bite of chicken and my throat closed involuntarily.
Really?
Because it was just like, no more chicken for us. And I was like, blah. And for, I think, about a decade, literally, I did not eat chicken.
Interesting.
Because I was so tired of chicken. It's come back to me now. I eat it occasionally, but I still don't eat it very often. But I felt like it was like every day chicken.
Yeah, they did serve a lot of chicken. But in fairness to them, it's because it's a very inexpensive protein.
Yeah.
And when you're feeding a couple hundred people, it's cost effective to incorporate chicken.
And if you're new to the podcast, we went to boarding school for quite a long time, and that's where we ate all our meals. So
it was so funny.
They're
so
what are they talking about?
You know, obviously growing up on cafeteria food, and you know, I mean, I wouldn't say the food was terrible. I know a lot of people complained about it, but they're all used to like home cooked meals and like all the good stuff. And like meanwhile, I'm like,
well, compared to other cafeterias I've been in, it was actually quite good.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and so when I went to Job Corps, you know, I was in another kind of boarding situation, you know, where I lived on campus and ate cafeteria food, and everybody complained about the cafeteria food. I'm like, this stuff's great. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
It reminds me of one meal that we had where they served spaghetti. And
that was one of my favorite meals. Spaghetti always.
This one time, I don't know what they did, or they messed up the recipe. And I was like, this tastes like Chef Boyardee out of a can. And I was sitting with a couple, a boy and a girl, and the girl immediately agreed with me with disdain, like, yes. And the guy was like, I know, right? Like, he was super excited that it tasted like Chef Boyardee. But I feel ya. If you know the other thing, we used to, where we grew up in South Africa before we moved to America and boarding school, they make these fresh meat pies in the bakeries. I don't know if you remember that. Like, you go to the grocery store and there'd be a bakery, and the bakery would make a meat pie. Oh my God, those were the most phenomenally delicious things. I would always ask for one. Yeah, they were so good. I do love meat
pies, and I'm pretty sure it's because of South Africa that I like meat pies.
When we left South Africa, I never saw a meat pie again in a bakery.
Oh, okay.
And we were in Johannesburg, was where we were. But then I suddenly saw one, like in the frozen section one day when I was at the store getting something else, and I was like, oh my God, a meat pie. I'm going to get a meat pie and try this. Disgusting.
Really?
You can't go from like fresh made, not from frozen meat pie and eat that. And I was just like, gross. That's the grossest thing ever. Super disappointing.
I love a good Stouffer's, or is it Marie Callender, whatever?
Either one, they both do it.
Yeah. Chicken pot pie.
Yeah, well, now that I've been on the American food diet for, the better part of 3 decades, now I like them. Now they're great. But I bet you if I ever had that South African meat pie again, I would be done with American meat pie for a while.
Yeah.
Ryan, card number 3. Name a TV show that we all watched together as a family unit.
The Simpsons.
I will say,
The X-Files.
That's what I was thinking. The Simpsons and The X-Files both came to my mind. Those were 2 shows that Mom liked, and so those ended up being the only shows we were allowed to watch during the week because... I remember we were never allowed to watch TV during the week. No TV during the week. But because Mom and Dad are also not hypocrites, if they were going to watch TV during the week, we were allowed to watch with them. So it was The Simpsons and The X-Files.
Yes.
To get my Star Trek The Next Generation and my Quantum Leap fix, I had to go to the Kirchhams because they watch those shows each week. So I don't think...
Why did I ever think of going to a friend's house?
I never told Heather I wasn't allowed to watch TV during the week, so that's how I slipped that one in.
And then they wouldn't even let us watch TV if we were homesick by ourselves.
And I did anyway, because how are they going to stop me? They're not there.
Same.
TV goes on.
I would sit there on Mom and Dad's bed, and I would watch Little House on the Prairie, The People's Court.
The Price is Right.
The Price is Right
is where I went. Yeah, The Price is Right.
There was a certain point during the day where it was just like all soap operas and garbage, and it was like not even worth watching. And you had like 8 channels to choose from. So there was only one time that they allowed me to watch TV when I was sick, And it was like, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember this very vividly. We were all sitting down watching the movie Congo. And I was on the recliner, and then I think you, Mom, and Dad were on the sofa. But I was like already sick, but I was like violently sick. Like I had to leave multiple times throughout the movie to go vomit. And, but that whole week I had been home sick in that state, and Mom and Dad were like, yeah, okay, you can watch TV. Like,
oh, man. I was going to say, I remember one time I was sick for like a week because I had a fever, and this mysterious fever that would not break. It just kept going and going. And every time we took my fever, 3, 4, 5 times a day, I just had this high fever. And so I was home, and I ended up, because I've never been one for soap operas, but there was this soap opera called, I believe it was called Passions.
Yes,
and I was like,
one.
I'm gonna watch 4 episodes of this. Well, no, I watched one episode. I was like, actually, that was kind of an intriguing love story. I kind of liked that. Let me watch. So I watched it the next day. And then I watched it the next day. And by the 4th day, I was like, oh my God, just like, I couldn't do it anymore because the exact same script, it's like they just repurposed it for 4 straight episodes. And I was like, what are we doing?
And then they drag it on with no conclusion for months on end. Yeah.
I know. It was literally, I love you, but we can't be together. But we want to be together. But we can't. No, we can't be together. But we should be together. But we can't be together. I was like, oh my God, just stop. Stop. I can't. Something else has to happen. Somebody shoots somebody or something. Get a murder in there.
Rebecca and her mom used to watch Days of Our Lives together and Passions. And
oh my God.
So like when Rebecca and I were dating and I got my first apartment, you know, I had this, it was a little studio apartment, but you know, so like when I would go off to work, I'd come home and she'd be sitting there watching Days of Our Lives. And I'd always remember, in the sands of time, these are the days of our lives.
You could have been the person that did that. You could have a voiceover career. I really think you could.
I would really love to have a voiceover career. I think it would be so much fun.
You do. And listen, I don't think you sound like Kermit. I know we've talked about this recently. I don't hear it. I still don't hear it. I don't know what everyone's saying. Ryan, card number 4. Kershplunk. Name a weird made-up word in the family vocabulary and its meaning. So, should I even bring up the tweaking of buns? Should we talk about that at all?
Did you tweak your kids' buns?
I do.
Oh, you still do? See, my girls are too old. I can't tweak the buns anymore.
Yeah, you can't do it now.
But yes, well, there was
Holly's
definitely
still 10.
Flabadab, Heather Flabadab.
What's flabadab? Oh, flabadab.
Flabadab.
Is that what we called it?
Yeah, like when you do the raspberry on the stomach. Yeah,
flabadab.
But like on the stomach.
Oh.
Dad would call it a flabadab.
Flabadab.
I don't know if that's real world or not, but
I don't know how anyone else feels about this, but family tradition is you pinch someone's butt and then pretend you didn't do it. Then everyone has to figure out.
So, was visiting Mom and Dad with Rebecca years ago, right? They were still living in the triplex at the time. And so I was in the kitchen. Mom was sitting at the table reading her book, like, you know, she always does. And I was doing something in the kitchen. And the next thing I know, and I'm a grown-ass man, right? Like 22, 21, whatever. And I get this tweak on my buns. And like I turn around and Mom's still sitting there reading her book like nothing had ever happened. And she's all the way across the kitchen. I did not hear her get up and tweak my buns like on a rolly chair. How did this woman like not make a freaking sound, tweak my buns, and get back before I had a chance to turn around and nonchalantly be reading her book? She was a ninja. And I was super impressed. Like, I was, like, angry at first, and then I was like, wow, that was impressive.
Do you know where I think this whole thing originated?
Where?
I'll tell you what. We were visiting Mom's parents in Oklahoma one Christmas, and I was busily making sandwiches at the kitchen counter when all of a sudden the bun was tweaked. And I turned around. To my shock, there's Grandma laughing to herself. She goes, I just love pinching bottoms, and walks back out of the kitchen. I was like, is this where it came from?
Oh, my gosh.
Are we genetically freaks?
Man.
Grandma,
she was so much fun.
I do it with my kids. I more do it like, I'll just like walk into a room and go, buns, and Holly will be like, no, and run away.
I just carried on with the tweak, tweak. And then the kids would be like, ee! And then run away.
Yeah, you can't, I could probably get away with still doing it.
Yeah.
But
My
you
kids
can't.
are too
You can't.
old.
Not with teenage girls.
Yeah.
You can't do it. All right. Other words I think I should bring up. I didn't realize at the time what this meant, but do you remember one term of endearment that Dad had for us?
Ragamuffin.
Calling us his
Wait.
little doobies. Remember that
Doobies.
one?
But
We were
isn't
his
a
little
doobie
doobies.
a joint?
It is a joint. Dad was super into drugs in the 70s. We were his little doobies.
My little joints.
I know.
My
Come
little
here, you
rolls of
spliffs.
marijuana.
Come on over here, you little balls of weed. Oh, man. And then, like, in my current family now, it's like all the words that the kids mispronounce just become the words we use for things. So we've got Snowny Day, which is salt.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody calls it Snowny Day anymore. Noodles instead of noodles.
Mm-hmm.
We've got, what else we got? We've got breathsticks. And then we
Is
don't
that
snuggle.
breadsticks?
No, breathsticks is breakfast.
Oh.
Breathsticks, yeah. And then we've got buggles, which is just snuggling.
Oh.
We call it buggles. What about you? What do you guys have?
So, any word that ends in a T, I pronounce with a P. So, if someone says something to me and I want to say what, I say whup. Well, not every word that ends in T, because I can't really think of any other examples.
It's
but
too
whup,
hard.
whup is what Sophie used to say.
Aw.
And then there's tickens, which could either be a ticket or a token.
Okay, because I went chickens with that one, but okay.
Yeah, it was tickens. Sophie would call the tickets at Chuck E. Cheese tickens.
Oh,
and we were
that's
still
adorable.
using tokens at the time, not the little swipey cards.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Chloe's got one that. Oh, Susu for cereal.
Okay, interesting one.
Call cereal Susu, and water's Wawa. I don't really refer to those as that, but Rebecca still does.
Okay.
Um.
I still use all the words. I still say noodles,
Yeah.
and I guess I haven't said Snowny Day in a while, but I want to bring it back. But the other thing, too, is I want to validate Charlotte for pronouncing it correctly when she finally does.
Uh-huh.
So, and if you're new to the podcast, my daughter Charlotte / Charlie has autism. So when she says it right, I realize like I should probably acknowledge that instead of continuing to use the mispronunciation.
Right.
Because I don't want to confuse her. But like also it's adorable and I can't help myself.
Yeah. Oh.
All right. Hey, what are your weird family words?
Ooh,
Comment
yeah.
below if you're on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, go to the link to the YouTube video and comment on YouTube. That's where I will see your comments, etc. Now, Ryan, are you ready?
Yes.
For card number 5. Get me out of here. Name a time where a family member was so scared of a movie they had to leave the theater.
So, I don't think I've ever experienced this because I don't think we ever watched scary movies necessarily.
Mhm.
But Mom watched Alien when she was pregnant, either with you or with me. I can't remember which one. And she had to walk out of that movie after the alien popped out of the guy's stomach.
And then she got a couple of aliens anyway. Poor mom.
Mm-hmm.
Poor mom. I was going to say, the movie for me was Jurassic Park.
Really?
We went on a school trip, I remember, and I was like, Jurassic Park was a huge popular movie. I was like, oh, I want to see Jurassic Park. Dad happened to be a chaperone on the trip.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, hey, you want to sit with me? I was like, no, because I was like 12 or 13, or I can't remember when it came out. But I was like, I'm like basically an adult. I don't need to watch the movie with my dad. Because I think was it a PG-13 or something? I was just trying to make a point, right? And it was actually showing simultaneously in 2 different theaters, if I recall. And so I went into the one Dad didn't go into because I'm so grown up. And I got so terrified by the dinosaurs that I literally went and sought him out, sat next to him, and held his hand. That movie is terrifying. It's so scary.
I can't believe you did that to Dad.
I was a teenage girl, Ryan.
Poor man. Such a disrespectful daughter.
I made up for it by being a pussy. What do you want? All right. You know what? I think we're going to move on to stories from Reddit. But listen.
I have a story that happened.
Okay, does it fit under the category of, it doesn't matter, tell it, go.
Okay, so my foreman told me this story happened to him. So the company that we work for, the president retired maybe 2 months ago, right? So they finally hired his new replacement. So every month they have a, I forget what they call it. They call it a mixer or mingle or something like that. So I typically don't go. Occasionally I will, to go schmooze the bosses, just to secure my position there. Anyways.
Excellent.
So
you got to do what you got to do.
So my foreman, he likes to go to these mingles, and so he goes, and so the way that our company is, we're like just a sheet metal outfit that does HVAC and architectural stuff. But they're bringing in the pipe fitters so that we can be a full service shop, right? So it's called the wet side and the dry side. So anyway, so they hired this other guy from the pipe fitters union, right? And so my foreman comes up to this guy and he goes, hey, so how long were you in 290 for? And the guy's like, I was never in 290. And he goes, oh, yeah, sure. He's like, you want to get me in and get me them big bucks, get me into 290, huh? And like the guy's just like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Wait, what's 290?
Sorry, 290, local 290. So the unions will have like a number associated to them. So for example, us sheet metal workers, we're local 16. Pipe fitters are 290, and that'll change depending on your territory. So sheet metal workers union in California is going to have a different number associated with it than ours. Okay,
so your guy works with you.
Yes, my foreman is he's a sheet metal worker, so he's local 16. And he's
going up to who?
To this guy that he thought was the pipe fitter guy that they had brought on.
Okay.
So
gotcha.
So he's like sitting there just like, just screwing with this guy, right? Like just, whatever. It's like, this is totally his, like, the way that he fucks with people, right? And it was like,
sure,
whatever. Anyway, so then they start talking about longevity of like being at a company, and so he says like, yeah, I think the longest I've ever been at a place has been 15 years, and I've had like a few stints here and there. And so the guy that he thought was 290 goes, he's like, yeah, I've only ever been at jobs 4 to 6 years. And then so Bo goes, oh, wow, that's a bad sign. And so the next day he has to go in for training, right? So he's sitting down in their conference room and he looks over at the president's office, and there's this 290 guy that he thought was the 290 guy in the president's office, right?
Oh, God.
And he looks over at the guy next to him. He's like, hey, who's the dude in the president's office? And the guy looks over and he's like, that's our new president. And he was like, oh, no. It's like he was just sitting there screwing with this guy that's our president, and then totally flipped him shit for like having, the short work history or whatever. Yeah, it's just pretty funny.
Hopefully it went okay for him after that.
We'll find out at some point this week, I'm sure.
Oh, God, okay. Well, on the lighter side, I have more strangest thing that's ever happened to you stories.
Ooh.
Like, because I didn't read all the ones from last week, so let's get into this. They're from Reddit, as always. From Eaton Beeve. I'm a eye roll on that name.
Yeah, just got it.
I'm a firefighter, and we got a call for an overdose around 3 a.m. to a rough part of our district in the middle of winter. Unfortunately, the patient was long gone, and her dealer or whatever found her like that when he dropped some stuff off. As we were packing up our stuff, mind you, this is an absolutely trash mobile home, I hear something down the hall that said, "Lights?" I asked my partner if he said anything, as it was just him and I cleaning up. He said no. I walked to the far end of the trailer where I heard it and shine my flashlight. I get a reflection out of the window. They have a small tool shed, and it had a flickering light. It piqued my interest, so my partner and I go out there. We hear crying and notice the door is padlocked. We cut it, and this little 6-year-old girl was in there. She said her mom puts her in there when she gets mad at her. She said she got scared when she heard the sirens and didn't know what to do. To this day, I have no idea what happened or where the voice came from, but I'll take the win on it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's pretty cool. He has an edit. A couple people wondering about what happened after. My partner and I took her to the children's hospital closest to us, and we wrote our report and ate chips and a sandwich. We don't care about that part, dude. We took from the lounge while they called a social worker. She was a really sweet girl. The voice was not a little girl voice. I 100% thought it was my partner since it sounded like a guy.
Yeah.
From U2 Spy Plane. Time slipped by my friend and I one day. We got a contract in another town and drove out daily for 2 weeks. It was 1 hour to get there and 1 hour back. But one day it took us 3 hours to get back to town. My friend realized something was wrong when his wife called him up, asking why he turned his phone off and why he was so late. We left a little before 2 p.m. and the call came almost at 5 p.m. To this day, we can't explain it. And to further complicate matters, we both have receipts from a gas station we stopped at just before we got on the highway that are time-stamped a bit after 2 p.m. My theory is that the aliens took us for 2 hours, but who the hell knows? You know that's our theory right there.
Yeah.
All right, from Plastic Fanny-tastic. You know what, Ryan?
What?
My understanding is that Europeans don't like it when Americans are like, "Oh, I'm European." Like if you say to them, "I'm Scottish," or "I'm Irish," or "I'm French," or whatever, they're like, "No, you're not. You're American."
So the thing that they don't understand about America is we're still a very young country. It's, a bit over, 200 years old now? Like 250 or
yeah,
something.
Not as old as any of their countries, yeah.
Right, so they have a long, rich history in their countries. So, their ancestry just kind of is more consolidated to that area, whereas we're a country of immigrants.
Yeah.
And, we've got people that have come here from all over the world. And, over the last couple centuries, they produce families and future generations to a point that, we're just interested in where our lineage came from. And so people take pride in that, especially
we do.
Especially the Irish. The Irish Americans are very prideful about it.
Yep.
Italians. Who else? Even Mexican Americans. Black Americans.
Yeah, but Mexicans aren't like, screw you about it. You know what I mean?
Right, but so what I'm saying is that a Mexican American who's born in the U.S., but I mean they get the same treatment from people in Mexico. They're like, you're not Mexican, you're American.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It happens to them too, as far as I know. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is funny that we're talking about this because obviously we were born in South Africa. We were naturalized down there. Mom's American, dad's South African. So, You know, when you get into it, technically we are African American, right? Like we've got dual citizenship.
That has been my joke for years.
Right. And it's, you know, anyway, so, you know, I work in construction, and anytime somebody finds this out, they're like, oh, so you're African American. Like that's immediately where they go to. I'm like, well, yeah,
right, yeah.
You know, I'm African American. So anyways, I was working at this company early on in my career. And so there was this dude who's like total neo-Nazi guy. The guy that I was working with goes, like, I forget the guy's name. He's such a tool, but he's like, hey, you know, Ryan here's African American, right? And the guy like stops dead in his tracks and he turns around like, and just like has hate in his eyes. And I was like, what the fuck? And he's like, yeah, I heard they hired another half-breed around here, and spits on the floor and then stomps on it and then walks away. And like I turned to my coworker, I was like, was he fucking for real? He's like, yep.
Oh my God. Dude, get with the program.
Mm-hmm.
That's guy's
like,
a jerk. Okay.
Dude, I'm white as snow. What are you talking about? Like,
I know. Nobody looks at us and thinks we're anything other than white European descendants.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if I went over to Scotland and I was like, I'm of Scottish descent, they can't really get mad about that, can they? I mean, it's just true.
I don't know. Like, I think they would, you know, you're going to have those people that are like, I don't care, mate. You're American. Get with the program.
Hey, you know what? As one Scottish woman that I know that I used to work with said to me, and her name was Rhoda, and I can't remember her last name. She had a sister named Ida.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember their last name. But she looked at my name tag one day because we wore name tags with first and last name on them.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, man, I'm not going to try to do the Scottish accent. I'm so bad at it. Your name's more Scottish than mine is. I was like, yup, Heather McLeod. It's like the Scottishest name ever. So I got a more Scottish name than probably Scottish people do. Just saying.
Unless they got a Mick name.
A Mick name or a Mac name?
Yeah.
Mick-Mac. I used to
Paddywhack.
work. There was another Heather, and her last name was MacDuffie.
Really? We had neighbors. So get this.
Uh-huh.
Our neighbors across the way, well, they're not our neighbors anymore. They moved, but it was like a sister duo. And their house address is literally the same house address as ours, but the last two digits are swapped.
Oh, okay.
And their last name was McConnelly or something like that.
Interesting.
So frequently, they would get our mail and we would get their mail. So, you know, there was always a lot of like just leaving mail on the porch, or, you know, if I saw one of them coming home around the same time I was, I'm like, hey, I got your mail. A couple times we accidentally opened their packages early on when the mix-up started.
Oh, sure. We see, that's the thing, when you live in like a small town like this, like the post office people know everybody. So there's very few mix-ups, because even if it's like the wrong address or whatever, something slightly off, they know who to give it to.
Heather, let me ask you, speaking of mailmen, okay?
Mm-hmm.
I've been having an issue with our mailman.
Oh, boy.
So, a few days ago, checked the mail as I do, and it's 100% of it is junk mail. And in there were coupons for a mechanic, and it was addressed to resident. So I work on my own cars. Most of the time, I don't really need mechanics. So I put the coupons up on top of the mailboxes in case there was someone in our complex that could use the coupons, you know? And so next day, I come in, check the mail. Well, the coupons are back in my box. And the only person who could have done that is the mailman. So I thought, okay, maybe he just thought it was an accident and I accidentally left it up there. So I took a Sharpie and I scribbled out the address and I put it back on top of the box. Well, next day, it's back in my mailbox. So I take it out and I throw it on there and I write on it, please leave for someone who might need this. I don't. And next day, it's back in my mailbox.
In the mailbox. Okay.
So I left a note in my mailbox that this guy cannot miss, and it said, "Hey, jackass! I don't want the coupons. I don't need them. I'm leaving them there in case someone else needs them. Fuck!" That's what
Is that what you wrote?
That's what I wrote.
You addressed him as jackass?
I did.
And put fuck at the end of the note.
Yes, I did. I was angry.
Oh my God.
And I haven't checked the mail yet today.
You're going to check it after this.
I should go check it right now.
And you're going to text me.
I should go check it right
now. And then we'll know. But
give me 2 minutes.
We're going to do, I'll read a story to everyone while you go and do that.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay, real quick, now that he's gone, I feel like he should have calmed down and then wrote the note. Anyways, we're going to do a story while he's checking that out. Plastic Fanny-tastic. 2 days after one of my closest, dearest friends died, we were semi-expecting it after he was in a terrible accident, I fell asleep in the library at school. This was after a horrific couple of days trying to process everything and function normally. I was massively sleep-deprived. I placed my head in my arms on the library desk, and I woke up, and there he was beside me. It was a scenario that had happened so many times that it didn't feel strange at all. We stood up and wandered around, watched one librarian putting books away on shelves. There was a girl reading a book, sitting on the floor, with sickly bright yellow socks. My friend made some silly dad joke about them being too loud for the library. We chatted in low voices about nothing much, the usual chit-chat, and then went back to the desks. I woke up, and he was gone, of course. I was startled but weirdly euphoric. I went over the same set of shelves and had déjà vu, saw the same librarian putting away the books, and the same girl with the yellow socks still there sat on the floor reading. I swear to this day, I hadn't seen them before I went to sleep. I like to think it was his way of saying goodbye. It helped me immensely, even though I know it was probably just a dream. But the socks thing has always stuck with me, and anytime I see a pair of loud yellow socks, not very often, I think of him and our final chat. Wow, that's a really heartwarming one to end off on. Too bad we're about to ruin it with the result of Ryan's running fight with his mailman. I think he's coming back. Let's see what happens here. You missed a really good final story.
Oh, really?
Hopefully, did he leave you a note and call you fuckerhead? Like, what happened?
No. So he left my note in the mailbox, put my mail in the mailbox, and left the coupons on the top. And they are now completely soaked by the rain.
I feel like he got the last laugh there.
I think he did.
What serves you right? Hey, jackass! Fuck!
3 days in a row! Like, clearly I'm putting them there on purpose!
I know, some people are just dumb. Also, it might be an OCD thing. Like, he's just like, I can't leave it up there. It's gotta be in a mailbox. You don't know.
It's addressed to resident. It's not even addressed to me. Why does he feel the need to give it back? The first time, okay, dude, I get it. I understand. But if I put it back up there, you know, the second time I'm thinking he'll know that it's intentional at this point.
Mm-hmm. I just don't underestimate how stupid people can be, Ryan. Anyway, instead of ending on this emotional story that I just read, where a guy had this wonderful dream about his friend that just died and then everything came true after he woke up, we'll end on this. Merry Christmas, you jackasses. Fuck! Is that going to be the name? Is that going to be the name of our fan base? They're going to be the jackasses. Yeah. I'm kidding. We can't do that. That's probably what the fans of Jackass are already called.
I don't know. Let's find out.
Anyway, listen, send us your stories. Email us. While you Google it, Ryan, Go ahead. Email us.
What are fans of Jackass called?
What are we? The Heather and Ryan Show at gmail.com. You can leave a comment under this video on our YouTube channel. If you're listening in a podcast app, that link will be in the description of this episode. Click on it, go to YouTube, leave your comments and stories. We would love to get them from you. Been asking for years and years. So few people do it. Just one day, maybe people will start doing it. Maybe for Christmas. Christmas presents? Send us your stories for Christmas. And then we'll read them in January instead of over Christmas. Yeah.
You sound so desperate right now, Heather.
I know. What's the deal? Are Jackass fans called jackasses?
No, I didn't get an immediate answer.
Okay.
And I didn't do any more digging.
Until further notice, have an incredible Christmas out there. And a Happy New Year, all you jackasses. It's the worst name for it. Why am I doing that?
We just lost all our fans.
Let's see. We lost them all. What's our gonna advice be? What did I write one down ahead of time? Hold on, let's see. We have to leave
Heather,
free advice.
I have great advice.
Yes, go ahead.
If you find yourself angry, take a beat. And process what's happening so that you respond and you don't react like I do. You were so well.
Jackass fuck. Okay. As you were leaving to go and check on the mail situation, and I was talking to everybody by myself, I was like, I feel like he should have waited till he calmed down and then written the note. And then I went on with the story. Keep your cool. Don't be a Scrooge. And have an incredible Christmas and a wonderful, happy New Year until
we play again.